Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. And as I always say, welcome to the Matrix. Because there's been so much going on mathematically in this Matrix, it seems to confirm a lot of the things that we've been talking about on this journey that goes all the way back to 2012, for those of you that have been on this channel. Very bizarre synchronicities. And I'm going to share one of those synchronicities with you this morning. I'm going to open today's show with something that you're not going to believe unless you see it with your own eyes. This is a video that we uploaded on the pre-anniversary, July 6th, the day that the misguided stones would fall 8 years later. Here you can see it, and I'm going to link this for those of you that, there's always skeptics out there, right? And this is crazy. This is a little bit troubling, isn't it? But it's really not, because God is amazing, right? Like I always tell you guys, if you're on the path to truth and you stay in God's will, all of a sudden things will start to make sense in this world. And without even trying, you begin to seem to foreshadow a lot of things that have not happened yet. So this is a video that we did in 2014. As you can see on your screen, July 6th, the pre-anniversary of when these stones would fall. We're just going to call them the stones from now on. And I'm going to play this video for you right now so that you can see what we said about the stones, because this is very important. I'm going to make sure we're connected, and I'm going to play this. Then we're going to break all this down and talk about what all this means. All right, looks like everything's good. You guys are with me. Let's go ahead and play this. Hey guys, enter the stars, and we just did a video. Let me turn this volume down a little bit. It's kind of loud for you guys. On this circle that encompasses the entire planet, on which many ancient sites fall. Now, many of you asked me, what is at the center of the circle? And from what I see, it falls near Alaska and northern Canada. I actually tracked this on our lines of death. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the lines of death, go back to my lines of death series. I think there are 8 of them. Lines of death 1 through 8. And you can follow along as we track these lines. Now, one of these lines was the Georgia Guidestones. Now, the Georgia Guidestones, we discovered for the first time in history since they were built, point exactly to 322 degrees in one direction, 33 degrees in the other direction. And that became one of our lines of death. Now, when you zoom out of the Georgia Guidestones, this is the 322 direction, is the red line you're looking at right now. We see that it forms one of the pentagrams, one of the arms of the pentagrams that cover the entire United States. So for those of you that are new to the channel, back in 2014, we had identified a giant pentagram of ley lines covering the United States. It's what you're looking at on your screen right now. And one of those ley lines was the alignment of the stones at 322 degrees. Now, in the other direction, the stones point to 33 degrees. This is unbelievable, but it's true. You can plot this right now on Google Earth and see this. Now, we're not going to talk about all the other ley lines that you see in this video, because it was part of a series that we did in 2014 called Lines of Death. This was one of the first major discoveries on this channel. was this pentagram covering the United States. Let's keep watching here.
Now the point that you're looking at here is the Manitoba Legislative Building, and we deduced that somehow they are drawing off of the power of this pentagram. We tracked all of the murders, the mass murders in the United States, mass tragedies, and they all seem to come within miles of these lines. Let's look at the Manitoba Legislative Building. We're getting to the point of this video in just a second. There's the Manitoba Legislative Building, and it is rumored that the Queen of England stops in here periodically unannounced and goes into a lower room of this building. Now I cannot confirm that obviously because I'm not there, but this is the rumor.
Now I'm going to pause this because we've been finding syringes all over the planet, haven't we? In these alignments. We found one at the Eiffel Tower. We found one at the Pyramid in San Francisco, the Pyramid Building. These, I don't know what you call them, greenways or alignments seem to look like syringes, and this one seems to look like a syringe as well. You see the plunger back here actually, right? It's like the round thing here, and then this would be the neck of the syringe here. Now, if you think that's crazy, go look at our other videos in which we found all these syringes. There's actually one as well at the Washington lawn, right? Going all the way down to the needle, which is the Washington Monument. I think we found about 6 or 7 of them. Let's keep watching here.
She also makes frequent public trips to the Manitoba Legislative Building every few years. Now,
so you're seeing how the pentagram forms the tip of the needle at the Manitoba Legislative Building.
The red line that you saw, the 322 line from the Georgia Guidestones, which is down here and moves up in this direction, is the line that points directly to the space that we see on our map, as you can see here. And we just had a huge earthquake near this line in Alaska last week. So I just wanted to show that to you guys for those of you that were wondering where the center of this circle was, and this is it. And it is one of the arms of the pentagram of death that we have seen cover the entire United States. Now, before I leave you guys with this video, I do want to point out that this line going across is the Washington, D.C. Memorial, which is the obelisk aligned with the Capitol building, and it is at 88.
So again, remember, that is a syringe as well. That monument aligned with the Capitol building, and it's aligned at 88 degrees. That's this line right here. It forms the crossbar of this pentagram. Wow. So now it's all making sense. The syringes, the syringe layouts, the pentagram, the misguided stones. It fits together like a puzzle, going all the way back to 2014. Let's keep watching this.
8.88 degrees. The Vatican keyhole is also aligned to 88.88 degrees. And I have a video on that if you guys want to reference that.
Now let's back this up a bit, because this is a lot of information, but it fits together like a puzzle. Many of you are probably wondering what this image is. Now, I didn't discover this image. I cannot remember the name of the man who discovered these alignments. He is no longer with us. I believe he had a brain aneurysm. If you guys could help me recall his name, he was a leader in the truth movement even before YouTube, I believe. There are videos out there of him presenting this image in which he found all of these. I think these are these points on the map here are, oh, that's what they are. They're ancient temples. My memory serves me correctly. And they all fall on this circular line. This circle area that you see. So he lined them all up and realized that they formed a circle. At the center of that circle is this, and it's very close to, I believe it's Mount Denali, or the mountain that Obama renamed in Alaska. I believe that's where it falls at the center. And that misguided stone alignment that you saw that I presented goes from here and actually points directly to the center of the circle. So that's what this is. Let me go back into the chat because you guys probably remember the name of that man. Very humble man, presented this information years and years ago, probably 15 years ago. And one of you will remember his name. He wore like a blazer, brown blazer, if I remember correctly, and did these presentations. Let's see. All right, Flynn. Yeah, I believe, was it David? I think his name was like David Flynn. Was that it? Yeah, and he died of like a brain tumor or aneurysm or something. Anyway. Wow. Right? Now, I've got even more information to disclose to you guys today. This is going to be a crazy Monday. Let's see if anyone else... No, it wasn't Kevin McMahon. I think it was David Flynn. Let's see if anyone else has any other ideas of who it might be. But that image should look familiar to those of you who have been in the community for a very long time. Flynn sounds correct. That seems to ring a bell. No, not Kevin McMahon. No, that wasn't his name. It was David something, I believe. Anyway, let's move on from this. Because, yeah, it was David Flynn. Thanks, John. Thanks for confirming that for me. Okay, so let's continue on with this. Because I'm going to show you guys some other things that are really, really creepy that don't make any sense unless you begin to put the puzzle pieces together. Now, there's something really creepy about George Bush. Here he is right here. And what's so creepy about George Bush? Well, I want you to look at his birthday. You can find it down here. July 6th, 1946. Let's zoom this up for you guys. You can see this. July 6th, 1946. Of course, that was the date that the misguided stones came down. Now I want you to look at this. This, July 6th, 1946, the very day and year that Governor Dewey established a center of trade of the world. I have to say it backwards because of YouTube. In New York City. Step near to basically create it. This was the board. He created a board to set up the center trade for the world on the very day and year that the very man under which it would fall down was born. Wrap your brain around that. Now, this Bush story goes even deeper. Because 55 years later, they would fall, of course. The towers, after he was born, on his 55th birthday. Now, what are the odds of this? It's very hard to tell, but I believe we've stumbled onto some kind of matrix. Now, given the timeline that we figured out for the misguided stones and how they fit into the Slim Tower story, we have ourselves some very odd coincidences. Look at this timeline that I put together that undeniably proves that something else is afoot here. That these three events are connected. Let's go through this. The misguided stones open on 3/22/80 when Bush was 33 years old. Can't say there's no connection there. And then halfway through the life of the misguided stones was about May 14th to May 15th, 2001. Bush was 55, so you have a 33 and a 55 so far. And this was 119 days before blind 11/2001. What happened? The towers were dustified, weren't they? Then we go 21 years later for 42 total years. And then the misguided stones are dustified on 7/6, which is 7 times 6, which is 42. And Bush just so happened to turn 76 years old on the day that they were dustified. Now, there's a little bit of confusion because Wikipedia has it incorrect about how much each of these slabs of the misguided stones weighs, but here it is from the actual site, from the misguided stone site, that they were in fact 42,000 pounds. What are the odds of that? What are the odds of that? Now, also realize that they came down at 403.33. That's 13 total. When you total those numbers up, again, a 7 and a 6 is 13. The day that they would fall. How could something be so accurate? Because if you think about it, I mean, did the person who pushed the button, were they watching through the lens of the camera to see exactly what the timestamp would be of the camera to get it that accurate? That is the question. That is the question. Now, of course, Bush was the 43rd president. Very close to the 42, isn't it? So that's what I wanted to present to you guys. Now, I cannot take credit for the discovery about the Bush fitting into the Guidestones in terms of him being 76 years old on the very day of 7/6 when it fell. But all the other stuff is new information. Someone else discovered this. You guys kept telling me, Casey, you keep forgetting to say that. Well, now I'm saying I'm including this in the presentation because this is very, very important. It shows continuity between Bush, the stones, and the towers. They're all connected. Now, we're going to get into some more of the craziness this morning, because I've got some more headlines for you guys that don't seem to make sense. Now, I have, let's see, I think I can probably upload this timeline for you guys. I'll make a link for it and put it in the pinned comment. Now, anytime Bo Jiven is upset about something, it means we should question it, right? Because he's Mr. Opposite. He's upset, we should probably be happy. And he's upset about this. The assassination of Shinzo Abe is how you say his name, former Prime Minister of Japan. Why are very evil people upset about this? Well, we're going to break that down. 67 years old, that's 76 backwards. It appears as though we're under the spirit of 76 right now in the Matrix. This is him. He was giving a speech. Some guy walked up and shot him. The question is, why? Well, according to this article, what they are trying to say is that the person who shot him had a problem with Abe's connections to the Unification Church, which are otherwise known as the Moonies. Sounds like Goonies, doesn't it? The Moonies. Now here's where things get really, really weird. Because their national headquarters, I think it's even international headquarters, they purchased in 1975 the very building where Tesla died, on the 33rd floor. Nikola Tesla died in this building. It's called the Wyndham New Yorker. We've done many decodes on this building. Talked about how creepy it was that Trump's uncle was there to scoop up Tesla's papers. And understand that they already knew each other. Electrical engineering world was a very small world back in I think it was the 1930s when all this went down. Of course, they knew each other. They probably worked together at Brookhaven, developing technologies, lasers. We have a full video on this building, the Wyndham New Yorker, Brookhaven, and the possible directed energy weapons. So, the Unification Church purchased this building. Shinzo Abe was into these people, which is why the assassin said he did it. So, what does all this mean? Well, this is kind of a mystery, isn't it? Breaking down the evidence, these things seem unconnected, but if you were some kind of researcher or some kind of investigator, you would see the continuity connecting all of these things. That this cannot be by chance. So let's keep going with this. Now I was floored over the weekend as all of this began to unfold through the Holy Spirit, showing and guiding what all this means. And here we go with this. Abe is Abe. Here he is with Obama. Yet this guy's supposed to be super conservative. Obama's super liberal, but yet they're buddies. Everybody at the top is on the same side. Don't be fooled. And how is it that they appeared in front of Abe, and then Abe would meet the same fate as Abe? Now I want you to listen to this. Carpenter's son. That's Jesus' mockery as he talks about Abraham Lincoln.
I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to President Trump. Donald, you must have been very busy in this very important the period of 100 days after your inauguration. And thank you very much for inviting me over to the White House. My name is Abe, but in the United States, some people mistakenly pronounce my name as Abe. But that is not bad, because even in Japan, everybody knows the name of that great president, that farmer carpenter's son can become a president, and that fact.
A former carpenter's son can become a president. That's Christ mockery all the way through. God shall not be mocked. And so this guy seemed to have met the same fate as Abraham Lincoln.
150 years ago, surprised the Japanese who were still under the shogunate rule. The Japanese opened their eyes to democracy. The United States is the champion of democracy.
No, we're not. So there he credits Lincoln as the president that woke Japan up to democracy. Welcome to the Matrix, you guys. I'm going to go back in the chat just for a minute. Many of you are probably just floored with this information. And let me see what you guys are talking about before we get into the rest of today's Between the Headlines. Wow. Now, this Abraham Lincoln story goes far, far deeper because we've linked all that into the syringe, because let's pull that up. We got to pull this up because Lincoln is at the tip of the needle. Let's pull it up here. We're going to go into Google Earth. This has always been about the needles because this is what they're consumed with. Pull up the needle. Remember, this forms the crossbar of that pentagram. This is where it points. There's the Crapper Hole building. There's the lawn. This is lined to exactly 88.80 degrees. Goes all the way down to the tip of the needle, which is the Washington Monument. And it points directly to Abe. The year, in the years he was president, the hypodermic needle was invented and given to the soldiers. They said it saved a lot of lives, but a lot of them got addicted to opium because of it, going right into the veins. And this has been the goal all along since old Abe. Now, many of you will remember Planet of the Apes. Again, that was all about basically, the simian flu and all of that. Let's fix this back up here now. So weird. I think you guys got to see it that time. Okay, good. Now let's fix up OBS and continue back on the track that we were on with this. Where are we? Put that back. Turn that off. Go back to Brave. All right. All right, let's continue on with this, you guys. I think we're back on track. Now, I got a couple more headlines for you guys today. It appears as though Florida has come under spiritual attack. This is kind of gross. I'm going to go fast forward past this picture. You guys don't have to look at that. But basically, Florida has become the epicenter for monkeypox. Now, why is this the case? Well, I believe this is probably punishment. Punishment for a state that appears to be going against the grain. Less than 8 weeks ago, Florida Department of Health reported the state's first case of monkeypox, disease that was once rare in the U.S. Now, as the number of these cases has risen rapidly in the U.S. and more than 50 other countries, Florida's case count is surging to 73 as of Thursday. So 73 people in Florida alone have the monkeypox, the third most of any state after California and New York. There were 700 confirmed U.S. cases as of Thursday. So this now is a thing, still relatively rare, but Florida is now at the epicenter of this. under attack. What else do we have in the headlines today? Well, Btwn just signed an executive order protecting women's rights to terminate the child in the womb. Now, let's read about this because this is important. Btwn will sign an executive order on Friday to help safeguard women's access to termination and contraception after the Supreme Court last month overturned Roe v. Wade. He's been under pressure by his supporters to take action after the decision. He'll direct Health and Human Services Department to take action to protect and expand to medication termination. So what does that mean? Well, would this be like if a woman had an ectopic pregnancy or something that would risk the life of the mother? I don't know. I don't know what this means. Medical termination. I don't know what that means. He will also direct the department to ensure women have access to emergency medical care, family planning, and contraception, including intrauterine devices, these IUDs. Now, we covered the copper IUD. Looks like the serpent wrapped around the pole from the book of Exodus. Or was it Numbers? Biden's Attorney General will convene pro bono attorneys and other organizations to provide legal counsel for patients. So basically, they get free attorneys on your tax dollar. They're also going to talk about protecting their right to travel outside of the state to seek medical care. So you're basically now going to pay with your tax dollars for these patients who seek help so that they can go to other states to have this done. So your tax dollars are still paying for this to be done, is the bottom line. Unbelievable. Now, of course, this will probably discourage this act from happening, because who wants to go through all this just to get something done, right? So that's the positive of all this. It's a deterrent. But they're still allowing an avenue for this to happen. Look at all the comments. 12,553 comments. I'm not going to read those comments, but you get the point of it. Now, what else do we have going on here? Well, remember I told you this matrix is all smoke and mirrors. And these people like to head fake. They like to gaslight. Well, all those people believing in Musk, oh, he's going to take over Twitter and make everything fair. He's going to do away with censorship. He's going to let Trump back in. No, he's not. He is actually abandoning his deal to buy Twitter. So all this was just smoke and mirrors for him it was a publicity stunt for him to get people on his side, get conservatives on his side, make people think he's legit, that he's got our best interests at heart. And it was all just a big head fake. Now, we've seen these head fakes time and time again. I see them all the time with these people saying they're going to do something and they never follow through. Trump was a great example of that. He was supposed to investigate Blind 11. He was supposed to go after elite traffic, of which we only had 2 people brought to justice. One of them, he said he wished her well. You guys need to wake up. Not you guys, but the people that are still in the right-left paradigm. So, he's pulling his offer off the table. And basically, this is one big nothing sandwich. What else do we have here? Now, as the Roe v. Wade setup continues to unfold and materialize, these Christians are claiming to have prayed with the justices. Now, this is probably not true, but this is what they're saying. Now, what is the purpose of this? Right-wing evangelicals are bragging about praying with the Supreme Court justices while lobbying to influence cases. Now, I want to get your guys' thoughts on what do you think is happening here? What does this mean? Why would they report on something like this? I have my own thoughts, but let's see what you guys have to say about what this is about. Let's let this chat catch up. Wow. This is crazy, you guys. Crazy. Why would they report on something like that? All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Attacking true believers, says redeemed to fool Christians. Gaslighting. Yes, Genesis, Revelation. Be a little bit more specific. How are they gaslighting? Divide the sheep. Why did they wait 50 years to pray? Great point, Sister Becky. Create an environment to stumble people. A setup. Join church and state. Here are my thoughts on this, and let me know what you guys think. They reported on this to make people think, people on the left think, if we don't stop this, it's going to get out of hand, and we will be living in a Handmaid's Tale world. I believe that's why they reported on this story. Because it's to make the people on the left freak out and go, wow, they're actually praying. Our entire legal system is going to be like The Handmaid's Tale. We need to do something now. And even though there's a calm before the storm, I feel like we're going to be right back where we were during the summers where everything was being burned and nobody was doing anything about it. Except this time, we have a Democrat president. There will be no counterbalance. There will be no counterbalance. Even though Trump wasn't even a real true counterbalance because he really didn't do anything. He pretended like he wanted to, but at the end of the day, what does Yoda say? You don't try, you do. You don't let, that was a national security risk. You don't allow thugs to go around and burn down America. He had the authority to go in and clean that out the second it started happening. And yet he didn't. And you got to ask yourself, why? So, here we go. Now, I'm going to end the show with some very powerful revelations. Not that we haven't had any this morning. About some research that we did on the towers that were coated in aluminum. And they were coated in aluminum. You guys know the towers that I'm talking about. And apparently there was a laser in this paper I'm looking at right now on my screen. This research paper from, I think this was, when was this? Might have been a recent paper. Directed energy deposition, in which they talk about aluminum being turned to dust, disintegrated in a laser beam. This is a screenshot of what's called ruled diffraction grating, which is used in holograms. When you shine a powerful enough laser at this grating, ruled diffraction grating, holograms appear. You need a very powerful laser. Those of you with eyes to see know what this looks like. It looks like the facade of the towers. Here's the diagram of the disintegration of these aluminum particles with laser beams from that paper. Again, I'll pin all this. Vortex sensing diffraction gratings. We demonstrate a specifically designed vortex sensing diffraction grating that generates multiple vortex patterns in the different diffracted orders. When this grating is illuminated with a separate vortex beam, the sign and order of the topological charge of the incident beam can be detected. Here's a ruled diffraction grating right here. Remember Pink Floyd? Another brick in the wall. We saw the numbers 9 and 11 coming out of the dustified explosion on yesterday's show. In the movie, The Wall by Pink Floyd. This is their logo for their album cover. A beam going into a pyramid, but in this case, you could replace the pyramid with a ruled diffraction grating to create holograms. Now, I'm not making any claims here, YouTube. I'm just showing some very bizarre synchronicities here that seem to point to something. Seems to be unexplained. Now, I apologize for hitting you guys with such a powerful show this Monday, but I mean, I guess you have the rest of the week to watch this. Whew. Wow. Now, we'll be back tomorrow with Westworld Season 4, in which they mention the New World Order and robots replace people in power. So we'll break all that down. Let me go into the chat here. We'll do a little Q&A the last few minutes of today's show. And I want to hear your thoughts about what you guys think about what we just presented today. The false light, yes, redeemed by, yes, absolutely. Is there a dark side of the moon? Good question. All right. Black hole sun. Krakow Monsters on Netflix. Watch Krakow Monsters on Netflix, says Miss Gaia. Yeah, Brenda, I fixed that. We fixed that. Sorry about that. I'll edit that out. I'll work on that now so that the video is shorter. So, but it takes like a day for the editing to complete. But when you share it, it won't have all of that empty space in there. All right, you guys, I'm going to let you go. I love each and every one of you. We'll see you tomorrow with Westworld. Take care and be safe, everybody.